experience. And when we invite people to come home, we ask ourselves first, as the inviters, what that means, and we ask those we invite to be open to really asking themselves, what does it mean to return? And then most importantly, those who are on the continent and also willfully or not willfully are welcoming people, what does it mean for them, and how does it all interconnect? So I know that this is the year of return. Interestingly, both of our organizations, we had a thought in 2018 to create them. Before we connected, we both were on this consciousness, and we didn't even know that the year of return was a thing. It was announced months later, so we were very aligned with this. But it's interesting because the year of return has lots of complexities to it. So we're here to discuss that in a very open way. I'm very honored to be surrounded by so many incredible panelists, including all of you. I want this to be a co-created experience. So our panelists will introduce themselves, and as we start this and I ask questions, please do not hesitate to ask us to pass you the mic or add your 2 cents or 3 cents or however long you would like. Well, we do have to get out of here, but yeah. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to, so we have actually a special, we had to have a replacement, and the best replacement ever. I have to say, everything happens for a reason. So, Mr. Shay Akil, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Shay Akil-McLean. I am a biologist and sociologist and anthropologist, studying the impacts of racism on human health and human genetics. But tonight I'm primarily going to be discussing stuff regarding inclusion, with particular philosophy and perspective of Pan-Africanism.
Hey guys, I'm Osaze Stigler, so 2 other people sit next to each other. From Accra, my first time here. I am a landscape architect and urban planner, and I study, my passion is really city planning and zoning, and that's what that is. It's really so important just to see how things happen over here in terms of like zoning and like how what people do things where and how life interacts, and seeing how I can take that back home and work and how I can bring that here hopefully one day. I'm also an artist, still a visual artist, and I focus on a lot of Black things, focusing on a lot of different history aspects from Africa in my art and Blackness in general. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here and have this session. So.
Hi everyone, I'm Johnaé Strong. I was the first year National Scholar and fell in love, came back 2 more times, have actually brought my children here, so this is my first time now living in Ghana. I'm formerly an educator and I'm also an activist and an artist. So I'm excited to speak tonight.
Hi. My name is Abena Boamah. I am the founder of Melanin, which is an all-natural skin.
My name is Ebonee Strong. I'm Ghanaian. I'm a farmer, an artist, and I just love plants really.
Plants are great. We need them. Hello everyone. My name is Deria. I'm originally from Maryland in the United States. I'm Black American. Yes, shout out to the DMV. I have been living here in Accra for 10 months now. And I am an educator and a writer. And I organize on the praxis of healing justice and transformative love. I like to think about how we are healing and repairing ourselves and our communities from systems of abuse, and how we can build new systems, new communities that prioritize love and care for our earth and for ourselves and for each other.
African. I feel like naming West Africa as part of my identity is really important. I currently live in the US. I emigrated when I was 14, and I've lived there for the past decade or so of my life. I work as a human rights lawyer, a writer, and an activist, and I'm really excited to be here tonight. I just want to say also that like Nigerians are known to be the like white people of West Africa, so like not a great reputation, but I think it's important to name that like when Nigerians go into spaces, sometimes we monopolize the space and like take up a lot of space. So I'm going to be really conscious, and I apologize in advance. So like all the Nigerians you may have met that have not been conscious of this space that they take up.
So this is actually a perfect transition to explaining even what made me think of this concept of diaspora discussions. So Len was saying something earlier about, and she will expand on this, about how ideally we can, no longer use phrases all the time like diaspora wars. We were talking about this because it kind of contributes to this divisiveness, and also the nuances of being African American. I grew up born in Paris, France. My parents are from West Africa, Togo, but historically before there were all those borders, my grandma's Yoruba, so what's now called Nigeria, there's Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, so I also identify basically I'm Pan-African. But however, the complexities of being born in France, moving to the United States at 3.5 years old, to parents who are from the continent, was that this exposure to the world was a pro and a con for me because it could lead to me being fed thoughts that derive from white supremacy and colonialism. So thoughts such as, you are not like African Americans, even though I technically am African American. Also, just ideas that always remember where you come from and just know that that's what sets you apart. And it was also fed to me at the same time as there's only one race, the human race. We shouldn't. I remember my family being surprised at me wanting to join Somerville at USC, which is an all-black floor. They were like, that's a form of discrimination. I just never would have said that. And so I understand that we evolve. Things that trigger me now that people do, I realize is a representation of what I used to think and feel. And also, there are so many nuances in being a continental African. Too often in diaspora wars, it's viewed as, I'm mad at you because your ancestors enslaved mine or helped in the process of enslavement, and now you have a privilege that you may not recognize. That's maybe one side. And I recently started understanding my own history and on the population of enslaved Africans, even more than North America. I don't know why they don't teach us this in school. I just am learning that there are people that look a lot like me in Brazil. I have no idea because I don't see that in the media. So my next pilgrimage, my magic Melanin would be going to Brazil and realizing that. But then on my dad's side, indigenous Africans did help in the enslavement. So in my own history and roots, there is that struggle and duality. I think it's my ancestors who are just needing some form of expression. And so I'm letting them speak through me and through Magic and Melanin and through these beautiful panelists. So my first question is, what does it mean to return home to you? What does that mean? So whoever feels called to that first.
My return to the continent came about after my return home to myself and my identity, my authenticity and my truth. It started about 4 years ago when I made the decision to wear my hair natural. And from that point, I started to really examine the ways that I had been conditioned by society to believe I was inherently less than or I wasn't good enough. I started to examine my programming and realize that I had so many beliefs and so many systems in place that control the way that I was living that weren't true. And so I was suffering from a lack of self-love, a lack of self-esteem, a lack lack of self-awareness. And in discovering those things and reprogramming my mind and shifting my own paradigms and finding that authenticity and that truth, I felt like I had to return here to the ultimate truth, to the source, to the root, to really figure out who I am on my most authentic level. And from there, I felt like I then had this sense of self and grounding and a foundation that I had never experienced or had access to prior to coming to the continent. And that was part of the reason why I started Daughter, because I feel like so many Black Americans or just people in the diaspora don't have that foundation, we don't have that connection. In everything in the world, the media, the television, newspapers and magazines, and I work in fashion, so fashion especially, is telling us constantly that we aren't good enough and that we have to be something other than what we are to be accepted and to be liked and to fit in, to be even successful or to get a job, or, to sustain ourselves and support ourselves. And so after that unlearning and relearning, this was sort of the crown jewel, it was the icing on the cake, like coming home and then getting the opportunities that I was.
So for me, I think it's not all of butterflies and rainbows, that kind of experience. It's like a very nuanced and very emotional. So my family's African American. My name is Nigerian. My parents decided to give all of us West African and everything. And like their way to try to connect us to our history. But it's like even with that, like that's so big. And it's like I'm learning so much even about that, like every single day. So yeah, it's like on one end, it's like a beautiful experience to come and like see the way people live, the way people interact, and try to connect those interactions with the way that my family interacts, with the way that my friends interact. Even like as simple as like how things are cooked. It's like, oh, my grandma does that too, So it's like that's a very like special thing. But the hard part is like knowing that I'll still never have the full like experience of like knowing like I'm from here, because as African Americans, like we're not from anywhere. Because of slavery, like slaves were brought from all throughout West Africa and then set to us. So it's not like in one place like so that's a kind of emotional, because like I'm pulling pieces, trying to connect the dots. But it still like doesn't mean that it's not beautiful and not fulfilling, because this has been an experience that I've never had. It's like wow, like very eye-opening. But it is kind of emotional, like trying to put those pieces together and like fearing that you never really feel fully complete, because that puzzle can never really be completed. But still having that experience to go through it is.
I think something my cousin and I, who's back there, she's my best friend, one of them, my cousin. Something that we talked about today, and it's like, as Ebonee Afangideh was home, her dad is African American, and our moms are sisters, and so our moms are both Nigerian. And so she was talking about, even being in Nigeria and being half Nigerian and half American, like some of the exclusion that she feels when she's in Nigeria, and so, like missing some things. And so she named that but Nigeria still feels like home, and like home is where even where there's exclusion, you still feel like you belong, and where you're sad to leave. And so that really stuck with me as far as defining how I think of home. As someone who grew up in Nigeria, was born in Nigeria, and spent most of my formative years in Nigeria, still really struggle with where home is, because my maternal side of the family is from a different state, and they have different traditions, different customs, different people, and my paternal side of my family is from a different place, and they have different customs and different ideals and different ways of being. And I grew up in a city that I absolutely love and has different customs and different languages, and so even growing up in a place where you know exactly where you're from, when someone asks where you're from, the idea of defining home can still be really big and nuanced. And as I moved around and immigrated to Alabama, finding home in Alabama was really important to me, and I found my way around it, and now as I live in Oakland, like finding home there has been really important to surviving. And so like, how do you define home when like there's going to be a piece of home in every place that you belong to, and so finding like what that home looks like and who those people that make you feel like your home are is really important to like finding home.
Ooh. Okay, so yes.
I just want to
Oh,
say,
of course.
yes, something to what it feels. I think coming from America, right, and having this experience, his comment made me think of genealogy tests, right? And I have such a disdain for genealogy testing. And I know I know it makes some people excited to find out their percentages, but for me, like the percentages, it's never gonna tell me what village my ancestry, I don't know where my ancestors going are. I don't, like, all those things are so important to me. And so like I really relate to that comment, and I think coming home for me is like I need to bring closure to that I was never going to know. And I have to just, in order to fully heal, I have to have closure. Because it's real anger there. Like, I mean, I'm very angry that I will never ever know.
Yeah, thank you for naming that, and I think that we should start to name the emotions that are attached to these huge celebrations that we've experienced. And anger is definitely one of them, sadness, like a loss, like we're grieving the fact that we don't know, we can't locate that information. It's not available to us and it was stolen from us. And that is harm. And it's something that we need to sit with and, again, heal. And I want to share, has anyone read Maya Angelou's book about her living here for a year?
Yeah.
So I highly recommend that book. It's called All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes. So Maya Angelou lived here for a year, and it's a really beautiful story. And for me, reading that book really opened my eyes to the ways that living here can help you kind of make the connections. And right, kind of like what you were saying, like you can see the similarities in the African American culture and African culture. And what was really beautiful in the end is she found the village, like she looked like them. And she had been told many times, like, you look like you're from this specific tribe.
I've been looking for mine.
Yes.
No. You see, like I see pieces of my friends. I see like
Absolutely. Yeah. So being here, I remember I was walking to like get some fruit one morning, and it was a generation of three women, three different generations, and I was like, you all look like one side of my family. It was really trippy. So being on the land pushed you in closer connection, and it does offer healing in that way. So I just want to share that.
I was saying there is a possibility that it will feel like we're preaching to the choir because we are in this incredible consciousness. And so one of the things that we will do in this diaspora discussion is also suggest solutions, because we're going to often be like, yes, 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 and we're going to want to also include solutions. And so not every panelist will answer every single question, but so I'm going to transition, but one thing I will say is the complexity of me, I don't fully yet, I have to watch the way I speak. I'm learning Mina. I used to say I don't speak Mina because I'm embarrassed, and I used to be mad at my parents for not teaching me, but it's not their fault. They were told that it's most important for their kids to know French and English. And even in Togo, people love to say, oh, vous parlez français, like you speak such perfect French, such perfect English. And I'm like, I just want to speak Mina. And it's beautiful to hear, and what's been healing for me are my kids, Nova and Remy. Nova is teaching me Mina, and Remy is learning so she's like a reflection of my inner child, and I look at her when she's speaking and having conversations, and she even tells me, Maman, tu parles bien un peu, je parle bien beaucoup, which is like, so for those on the continent who are seeing this massive consciousness, which is not new, because like we said, Maya Angelou, so many Dubois, Marcus Garvey, yes. How do you feel? How does this make you feel? That's what I'm going to ask. That's just my question. How does it make you feel? The return and the desire or collective movement, and it can even just be even said political campaigns or governmental strategies. I will add that because when I first saw the year of return, I thought this is a cool synchronicity. But then when I really learned about it, I was like, well, why are they charging visa prices? Why are they making it so hard even for me as a Togolese to fly out of Ghana? There's all these questions that came to me. So then I started asking, what is this really about? But how does it make you feel?
So I moved here in 2018, but so I was born in the States, but I lived in Ghana as a child, so my first language was Twi. And then I lived in the States, but when I lived in the States, I'm in a Ghanaian household. So kind of to answer your question, like talk about moving back, being home and living and being able to work and create your own space when you move somewhere, it just really gives you a sense of privilege and being able to acknowledge like what it looks like for me to be a Ghanaian American in Ghana, having a business here, and really taking the time to learn about myself being home or myself being in my family's home. Because, and I think it's just one of those things like with the year of return, I think it can be a lot of amazing opportunities, like for people to be able to come and learn about a country and experience a country and experience the people. For me, I find the issue though in the year of return when it seems sometimes as bit as like a capitalist ploy. Tourism is a really interesting thing because obviously you're educating people about our culture and where we're at. But as someone that lives here, we're all in this space because of privilege. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're not asking certain questions like, what does the average Ghanaian look like? What does the average Ghanaian experience? How is there 750,000 visas being paid? Where does that money go? Like, do you know what I mean? So those are things that I feel like these are questions that need to be asked, not just from people coming in, but people here, we need to be able to ask that. And there's so much sometimes nuance or whatever you want to call it, like in between that, like I think sometimes we can't get a full circle of being able to criticize and also enjoy cooking water. Like, like you can go to Twits, you can go to, you can even go to Cape Coast, you can do all those things those are still touristy things. What happens when you start to question how are people actually living? Because it's like right outside here, there's still someone living outside on the front porch, and that's normalized. So like when you live here all the time and you see things are being built up just for a month, when a year of return is supposed to have started in the beginning of the year, and now everything is focused on December, it kind of feels uncomfortable, to be honest. And I think it's like, I saw someone tweet something today, I think a friendship about like understanding your privileges when you're here, and like how Ghana is such a fun experience for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or maybe even a month or two. But like the issues that you may experience once or twice that is a normal issue that people are experiencing every day, and there's people experiencing things that is bigger than Accra, because like everything's really focused on Accra. And there's people outside of Accra. Ghana is a very large country. There's multiple cultures. You can go 2 hours and it's a whole different vibe, a whole different group of people. So I think that's something that always is fascinating.
Thank you.
like generally in life, right, what I think is everything is about duality. So there's definitely positives and negatives. So yeah, when I was speaking to Dossé about 2 weeks ago about something, this issue came up, and yeah, I guess that's how I feel myself on this panel. This is not my head. I'll rather be taking care of plants. But it's crazy. Like this year, it's been amazing. Amazing in the sense that, of course, there has been an influx of people. So looking at it financially, the news is saying that okay, so Ghana has made this amount of revenue. Like a lot of people are coming in, and obviously there's going to be some investments, but there's also another side of the coin, as I was saying. The average Ghanaian, like how does the year of return affect the average Ghanaian? Let me tell you guys something. On this street where we are right now, right? There's food that can cost maybe 5 cedis. That is, I don't even know what 5 cedis is. So, like, okay, this bottle of water costs 1 cedi, but because of the year of return, there are places in Accra where this costs 10 cedis, 5 cedis. So, the average person on the street, like, as a farmer, I work with a lot of rural people, I work with people that are laborers, So, like, I always ask myself, how are these people benefiting? So, I've not spoken about being a capitalist employee, and I always talk about, when I go to spaces, I speak about it. So nobody puts it on their panels. But the thing is, like something like Charlotte is amazing. There's a lot of people coming into Ghana. Charlotte happens not too far from here. And during that time, like the whole city, the whole town is full of people. And look at the state, they say, oh, we are creating business for local people. But here's the case that they are saying a vending ticket is 500 cedis or 1,000 cedis. So how does the local person who lives in Jamestown get the opportunity to come and sell their KK? Now, there's so many people on the street. These people cannot even have anywhere to, they can't even sleep because some of them literally live on the street. So in all honesty, yeah, I think this the year of the return is a romantic notion, in all honesty, because when I was reading the brief for this conversation, Dossé was asking about what Pan-African means, being a Pan-African means, and to me, someone who lives on this continent, everybody knows Nkrumah. Nkrumah was like the first, he's like the main guy when it comes to African independence, so to speak. And one thing he always talked was for African unity. So if you look at it in a certain way, I feel like gradually we are getting to that place because we are a different generation, so we think different, we act different, everything we do is different. So what is happening is there's a critical mass that is building up. A couple of years ago, we couldn't see, because I know if I asked, I'm sure there are different people from different parts of Africa. Of course, as my sister was saying, not everybody knows where they're from, but I believe it's a diverse crowd of people in here. So what is happening is, when we're having conversations like this, the year of return, one positive I'm trying to say is bringing these people together. We are starting these conversations, and the critical mass is building. It's going to get a critical mass is building where we will just begin, we will move, because the move is here. This is like our great grandfathers never thought. They never thought that we will have people like all these beautiful people here that are shaping culture. I've been seeing some of you on Instagram, I was like, this person, and I've seen you on my Twitter, everybody's saying, Osaze, this fine guy. I'm just trying to say that this we are just trying to build something the year of 10 is bringing really beautiful people together. So one thing we need to do is to really hold and be aware of these ideas and then create. So of course there are some negatives, but it's okay because once you guys are coming, it's nice, to feel like family. I see people on the street, and I just wait, my brother, please. Because everyone is looking for some closure. So I think we should, look, I was also hoping about, I was telling Deria that sometimes we feel that I've spoken to a lot of locals. I'm sorry, have I been speaking for so long? So I've been speaking to locals when we have all these conversations, they will say, oh yeah, but these people, because of the difference in generation, sometimes the language barrier, you'll see people that have returned walking on the streets, and you guys are just happy to be home. And they're like, look at these guys that I feel. There's a little bit of, there's microaggression. No, I see it. And it's crazy that we need to speak about all these things, because we are, like, some people also feel like this is our space, because they know that these guys that are coming have the almighty dollar. So in all, it's been a beautiful experience, but I think, like everything in life, we need to be organic, we need to just let it grow. Like this whole experience, these experiences that Magic Melanin, you guys are creating, I think we need to let it grow.
So I definitely think that I want to talk about class, right? And I think people have touched on it, but everyone in here is like class. Like we have privileges, we have class privilege. If you have the dollar, you're like class. If you can afford to travel, you're class. And it's really hard to like live in a place that people visit, right? Like people come and people go, and like the ways that they take up space is going to impact you for the rest of the year, and then they're back next year. And so being really mindful of like what spaces are we taking up. And so like I know we've all talked about like hardly in the markets, but realizing that some of the local vendors who make that stuff like really rely on that income for the rest of the year. So like, yes, you want to like get a deal, but what does that deal that you're getting that's saving you maybe like $2 mean for the person who's on the other end of it, right? Like, how are we, because we have economic power, like obviously how are we using our economic power and distributing that like right now? And like, what spaces are we going to, right? Like, if you're here, your entire experience of Ghana has been, Afrochella, and like with people that are within your same class, you haven't experienced Ghana, right? Like, the space, right? The space is the people, and I think that African people are what make Africa Africa, right? And that's not like the like super powerful African people. That's just like the everyday person on the street. Like, go to the market and just like watch people do the things in their lives. Like, everyday African people are like hella interesting. Like, street fashion is like hella dope, right? Like, those are the things that are worth paying attention to. And so if we're only paying attention to like the class experiences of being in the continent, then we're missing out on so much of the wealth that is already available here.
Wow. This is incredible. So this makes me think of, do you see for our participants who have either come multiple times, have moved back, congratulations, or are considering that, do you see parallels between what has been said here and also what exists in America, and what may those be? What is this awakening you to on a global level?
So I intentionally, just because of my position, I like really was excited to be on the council here. What folks who live in Ghana have a Ghanaian experience, either by being Ghanaian or moving back and having been here longer, to really get some more context for me, because I'm really new. And so for me, I had a very spiritual experience, and I think coming up, my story of origin has always taught me this question about what is home, what is mother, what is parenting, what is my identity. Growing up as someone who was born in Cleveland, Ohio, working class, all the stuff that comes with the Black experience in that class has always had me question, what does it mean to have a home and have a family? So when I came here, it was actually the first time in all my 27 years of living that I was like, I feel like a whole, full, dignified person. That was my epiphany. And then, so for me, it was like the unlearning of the shame, it was the unlearning of the trauma, it was the healing of that. I was able to cry at the dungeons, I was able to walk barefoot, Rachel, wear a our ancestors were for weeks and months before they got to the Americas. And all of that changed me. It changed. I was telling my friends, I'm like, real talk, it changed my genetic code. Like, it realigned who I am as a person. And so, but now, the duality piece is, now that I'm here, I've had this really beautiful romantic experience within myself, and now there's a responsibility that comes with that. And so now that I'm here, I'm very intentional about listening and observing. I'm very grateful to the universe that actually led me to my husband to be, who's Ghanaian born. Opportunity to learn myself and expose my children who are 7 and 3, American born, Chicago till they die, to the world. You know what I'm saying? But I get to expose them to this at a very young age. And so for me, it's learning, observing, giving myself space and grace to know it's going to take time, but having a real earnest commitment to learning the language, having a real earnest commitment to being with the women in the family while they cook and learning how to bust my arms counting some years, and I really want to learn these things because it's not, for me, I've come multiple times because it's not just a stop for me, right? Like my last 12 years have been shaped in activism in America to the point where I figured out that my mental health will not sustain if I keep banging against the wall of America. I have to break for me. And so now that I'm here, how do I be here? And so that's my journey.
The moon is in Aquarius. The moon is in Aquarius.
Yeah, me too. So, where do you want to go?
I'm also an astrologer, so it's just very beautiful. Are there any Aquariuses in the house? Okay, yes, Aquarius energy. We are in the age of Aquarius, the age of change, the age of revolution, the age of innovation, the age of doing what's unconventional, the age of disruption, the age of humanitarianism, and the age of collective consciousness, growing like rapid fire.
I just want to reiterate and affirm what you're saying because I feel like when I got here, I originally came for a wedding, and I have family or a family friend here who got married here, and I couldn't leave. And when I did leave, I remember how my body felt coming into the country versus when I left, and it was dramatically different. I was dancing in the airport, and we were like, "Where the hell is this bitch going?" It was like, I'm coming back, I had decided before. I just want to mirror that. That was the biggest weight in making my decision was that being free of the psychological terror that exists living as a Black person in America, and not just living it there, but caring for other Black people, other Black children, and just seeing how much the country and the people in that country despise not just Black children, Blacks, if we're being honest, because schools got shot up and it wasn't Black children that died and nothing changed. So I trying to fight that, it takes so much energy. And I'd rather give that energy to myself, to my own healing, and to my community. And I'm better for it. So I just want to mirror that as a
Is there any Ghanaian in the audience who would like to touch on any of these questions, including how you feel about seeing the diaspora returning home? No pressure, but just want to make sure everyone feels included. All right, there'll be time for questions and everything after. Oh, okay, good. Yes, please. Continental African.
I'm Nigerian. Yes. I guess I want to pose a question about what does it look like for first generation for those of us who were either born in the States or in the States were young. Yes. And trying to figure out, where should we be
So, do you feel like, are you living here now?
No, I'm living in Brooklyn, but I want to transition, and my parents are very, very, very against it.
And why are they against it?
Because all they know is violence after the
Dossé, can you say that on the mic?
Yes. I'm going to let Salem speak on that, but that deeply resonates. Yes.
Can you say that on the mic?
Okay, I'm going to let you read.
So my read is you're asking about like immigrant children, first gens basically, who were either born in the States or born here but emigrated early, who want to go back or are trying to figure out home and like where to be, but have pushback from parents and other family members who are like, why the fuck would you want to do that, right? Yeah, okay. So I came to Ghana for the first time last year and absolutely fell in love. Basically like told everyone in my family that I was moving back in 6 months. Almost quit my job. Like I basically like wrote my resignation letter when I went back. Talked to Dossé-Via about like wanting to move back, look for jobs, had some interviews, like was pretty much committed to moving back. I'm not an American citizen. I'm a green card holder, full disclosure. And when I talked to my dad about it, my dad is a Nigerian lawyer. He was like, why the fuck would you want to do that? And he gave me a lot of perspective as to like, here's like all the romantic things that you're feeling about wanting to be back in the continent. But I think my brother like really gave me more perspective because he was like, you're young, you're a black, you're a woman, no one will respect you. Like you will go here and you have all of these things to add and you have all of these ideas, but you're not like a good learner. Like you're going in with like ideas fully formed and you're going in with like a lot of lessons and a lot of like things that you want to do, and at this current iteration of your growth, like that's not, like you don't need to do that. Use your ideas where your ideas will be seen and like respected, but if you're trying to go to Nigeria as a minority Nigerian and be like, hey, I have all of these things to offer, like, you don't, right? And I think that was like really hard to take in, but it was really needed. Like I needed that perspective. The second thing that really did it for me was like securing my future because like I think what happened with our parents is like the absence of choice. So I have some family members who can't ever come to the US, like have applied for visas and they can't ever come to the US. And so our family, even within my immediate family, is very divided. We're like a multi-status family. And so we have some people that if we don't come down to see, we can't ever see them. And for those family members, it's been really important for them to like have choice of mobility, and they don't have it. And so, as someone who like had a green card, but if you're not, for those who don't know about green cards, like if you're not in the U.S. every year as a green card holder, you lose your green card privileges. So you basically have to be in the U.S. every year, which like, yeah. So as someone who like was like, I'm never gonna be a U.S. citizen. I never, I don't want to do it as a matter of principle. Wanting to have, seeing a future for myself back in the continent, for me, means having something that will give me the choice of mobility, which meant that if I ever wanted to relocate here, I would have to become an American citizen, right? And so like there are really, really hard choices that you have to make when you're like, my heart isn't here. And like when I made the decision not to move, when I said I was going to move, like I was really depressed. I like had to go to Barbados for a week to like keep myself. I was seriously depressed about it. Because it was like something that I felt really strongly about, something that like my heart was in the continent, and having to tell myself, hey, this is something that you really want to do, but you can't do it because there are other options, was really hard. But it was like a choice that needed to be made.
Ooh, I will. Oh yes. Okay. Yes.
All of this, it makes me think about the generational privilege that all of y'all have here. And I'm not defending her parents at all. I'm 43 years old. I know it may sound hard to believe, but there's a lot of internet. No, I'm not saying
Yes.
Hi. I guess I can hear where everyone's coming from and everything, but I'm still stuck on a conversation my friend and I have been having is still about the people here. Because we're talking about the people coming here, we're talking about the people who are trying to do work here, but there are also still people who need jobs here that experience unemployment, high unemployment rates, are experiencing a particular political climate here that we may not have experienced because oftentimes spaces like these end up being geared towards tourism, and that puts a country in a very vulnerable place because that means there's only one way of making money, there's only one way of sustaining the country, minus the other foreign investing and all that kind of other involvement. So a big thing for me has been because my friend and I are interested in doing similar work in just trying to create some sovereignty surrounding how we collect information, how we do research within the African diaspora, but it's how do we do that and make sure that we're giving back to the communities in the actual way that are here, that they can be a part of these conversations too, because I'm from Toronto, one thing I say is we have the same thing of talking about the elitism and classism that happens in spaces within the university and other institutions. And we say that the communities that are around us, the hoods, the ghettos, wherever, are having those same conversations, but in different languages, in a different way. The same way that our elders are having these same conversations, or have these same conversations in a different way. How are we gonna make it accessible in the sense of okay, we're all here, but there are community members that can be here and have this conversation, and not just community members that are in university or that have, again, are coming from the same privilege of where we're sitting, but community members that are sitting on their porches and having these conversations regardless. How are we, and beyond the conversation is that opportunity, because I've seen a lot of videos of people coming together and all that kind of stuff, but it's tricky because again, it's known as safe, it's known as all these things, but it's because of a particular audience of people that are coming and experiencing that safety beyond Black diasporic folks, but there are white folks here, there are Asian folks here, there's all different community folks here that are accessing certain, services or whatever here and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so, sorry? Privileges, yes. So they're accessing all these privileges the same ways that we're able to access them, and maybe not even because this is a space that has experienced colonialism, and the ways that we see things are still through that lens, and how do we even address that part of the conversation? So there's so many. There's so many. But here's the other thing: is that this is a continuation. Because this conversation is not new. This conversation has happened several times over. So this is a continuation, but what is going to be the difference in how we continue this conversation to the communities, to the rural areas, and whatever I just I follow Hannah Beauty and the work that she does, and what stood out to me so much is the ways in which she was talking about connecting with the women who were making the shea butter and all that kind of stuff, and doing it in a very intentional way. So it's okay, that's one example, but there's still, you go to markets and you see people doing their thing, but they can even be from here, but they're not doing the same work of connecting and creating that kind of intentional relationship, that giving that humanity, giving that empathy to the people that are around them, and actually doing particular work in dismantling the yes, that word, thank you. The ways in which that we engage with this whole idea of someone's from rural, someone's from city, someone's from this, that, and then even with people coming from abroad. Still alive, it's very layered. But these are the things that have been happening in my mind because I'm I don't know, and my mother's from the islands, and I even think about that same thing there. I'm just how do I do this work and make sure that it's intentional and sustainable for everybody that's involved, including myself, because obviously, I want to live, but I don't want to live within the same realm of colonialism and white supremacy and patriarchy that has been imposed on me in Canada come and impose it on people here. So how is that part going to be done?
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ivory, and so just to add on to what you were saying, because literally while you were talking, I was saying that is the word. Like, I might not know much about anything, but what I do know is that when there are few or many people, change can occur. And I mean, yeah, it's like very naive to think such, but it is very much so true because we're all in here with the same passion and the same vigor of wanting to make change, and not necessarily because we're thinking, oh, Ghanaian people need this help, but just because we want to change how things are run. Like, reference Game of Thrones, if you will. We're trying to break the wheel. And I think that all of us being like the black sheep in some respect of our families, because I know for myself when I came here to Africa, my family was like, oh, what are you doing? Like, don't do this because blah, 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 blah. And I'm here now, and I have gained so much insight just from the people that I met, whether it be in my crew of Magic and Melanin, or whether it's talking to the locals and like having actual exchanges and being present in those moments, that it is like educating me on how I can better myself and what I can bring back. Because it is very difficult to feel like, you know, for the most part, you are exploiting a culture, or you're not providing in a way that's meaningful. But I think when you have that awareness and you know how to maneuver around it a little bit better, and you're able to pour back not only into the culture, not only into yourself, but into other people, because people are the culture. And that's literally all that Magic and Melanin and myself in my own way have been trying to do, you know?